Yes, well, you heard the introduction.
Yes.
We're expecting a stronger El Nino this
Yes.
year. But you formed your group before this announcement was made. Can you tell us what the movement is about and why did it have to be formed?
The movement is about challenging the biggest crisis, not only in the world, but also in the Philippines, called the water crisis. And our government and even our private sector is not quite aware of that. And the reason we formed it is because I had personal experience. I had been appointed the Secretary General of 6 departments, Office of the President, and the Congress and the House. And I was saying, I'm private secretary, why am I doing this? They said because when we met President Duterte at 4 in the morning, we had told him that we're taking this too lightly, right? And he said he'd do it. So I then consented to be the non-paid Secretary General, but then I saw firsthand what was happening. And our government is very, very skillful, but sometimes there are some pockets that are unaware of the magnitude of this problem. So I then did it. And then we did something very good. We had 7 summits in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. But after we did that, with 7 books signed by UPLB deans, etc., the follow-up, as usual, was a little lacking. And since there was a slow movement, the people in the private sector told me, why don't we help the government? We help them by getting the private sector who are already good, like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who are doing a lot of tree planting, and the Rotary International who does water from time to time. Let's synergize that, and in making the private sector very responsive, we can also help the government, and the government can help us. So we in the movement found that governance is too important to leave to government itself. So we have to be partners with government.
So who are the members of this movement?
Okay, the members of this movement go from the young, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. There's
They're
4 million
volunteers,
of
of course. Everybody's a volunteer.
Well, of course, they're paid in their own way. For example, businesses are, of course, paid. But when you join this movement, of course, we don't pay people to join this movement. But we have lots of resources. That's my situation, you know. I feel there's lots of resources that are not harmonized, that are not integrated, and our movement hopes to do that. But we have no power. In other words, we catalyze, we encourage, etc. For example, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, they tell me, we see the government, they plant the trees, then they go away for photo ops. And they say, we are better than them. I said, why are you better than them? Because when we plant, we make sure they grow. Maybe they can learn from us. I said, yes, but to what extent are you talking to them, right? Okay, that's one thing. Another one is this. You know, you may not know this, but I was undersecretary of agriculture too. And 72% of all water is agriculture, right? So when you see, when we have free irrigation, are we sure we're not abusing that? Because if it's free, they just use it like that, and the people down the road don't get it. So there are many things I saw. So in my stint, and I am, my job as Secretary General is until the summit, which is March 21, I want to take advantage of all that wealth that we got from the private sector, from the government. And there's so many good people there, but we have to crystallize, prioritize, and synergize. And that's why there's this movement. They felt after all these very intense moves, we still had to do more. And with Boracay and Manila Bay, oh, government's waking up to water, huh?
Yeah, let's try the first thing that you said. Let's try to crystallize this issue for the public. When you say we're facing a water crisis, I think people generally have an idea. In the same way that when you say climate change is a global problem, people have an idea of the problem. But give us a situation, shock us. I mean, what's the most alarming thing you've learned in your stint in government, in going around the country, in meeting with farmers and fisher folk, and knowing how we live? What's the most shocking thing you've learned about our water situation?
There are 2 shocking things I learned. The first one is 55 people die every day, which is 9 times more than EJK's, which gets page 1 news. There's no news on this. There's so many people who die every day. And with this, we find that there's so much carelessness in handling water, correct?
55 deaths due to...
Every day. Water-related diseases,
Okay.
and another 10 or so
In the
for
Philippines.
other things. In the Philippines, yeah. And the other thing is, I thought we were pretty good. In Southeast Asia, we're one of the worst. One of the worst, yes, because 67% of our people, young ones, have intestinal worm diseases. I thought we were pretty good. I mean, you look at Makati and all that, and so many people die every day, right? One 1 out of 5 municipalities have absolutely no water. In other words, I was head of cement in 12 countries, right? And I deal with the top industry guys, and that's a different world. When I went to this world, I found out that, of course, there's always poverty, right? But can we handle that? I saw wrongly placed investments done with political interests that are contrary to national interests.
Such as what?
I'll give an example, okay? I have a farmer from Bulacan, he's the head of Central Luzon Farmers. He said, there is this thing, it's water encatchment. You got to catch the water, right? It's defective. It only costs like 30,000 pesos per hectare to repair it. They ignore it, and they instead build something that is 10 times more expensive because there's more corruption, more lagay, more votes, etc. And why don't they just return on investment, right? Okay. So are they disciplined? You see, I came from DTI and DA, and I was with also present as flagship secretary, and I saw the difference, right? You know, in DTI, my subordinates had masters from AIM, all of them. In DA, they know horticulture, but they really don't know management, so they don't use cost benefit, etc. In DTI, they have ISO 9000. Everyone. In DA, very few. So I find governance can be helped, especially in areas which are not attended to, like water.